What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren Thompson, and we just got episode 4 of Marvel's Secret Invasion. And it threw us some twists, some that we definitely knew were going to happen, and some that we really weren't expecting. And if you are trying to avoid any and all spoilers for Secret Invasion episode 4, this is your official spoiler warning. We are going to be breaking down everything that happened in episode 4, so you have been warned. And with that being said, we can finally say Rhodey is a Skrull. We all predicted this. We all kind of felt like he was a Skrull, and we were right. But now the question is, how long exactly has Rhodey been a Skrull? And of course, the bigger question for this particular episode is Talos really dead? Emilia Clarke's Gaia was not dead, but she was a super Skrull. She went through the experimentation that we found out in the beginning of the episode, and based off of what we know, Talos has never been anywhere near that facility, anywhere near that machine, so we could probably say with confidence he is not a super Skrull. So is he actually dead? Let us know your thoughts right now in the comments. Yes, he's dead, or no, he's not dead and he will be coming back. We have a lot to break down in this episode, including a very important scene, one you might not realize how important this actually is for the future of the Skrull and the Human Alliance. We'll break it all down in this video, and if you're new, be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on the MCU, and if you both subscribe and comment, you're automatically entered in our giveaway for a chance to win an Xbox Series X, a PS5, some Marvel Legends items, or some DC items. The winner gets to pick one item, and we pick a winner at the end of each month. So this episode starts off with Gaia. At the end of last episode, she was shot by Gravik, and we believed her to be dead. Well, some of us did. Some of us knew that Gaia was actually a super Skrull, and it showed us this. Of course, Gaia never truly trusted Gravik, especially after she met with her dad and learned that her mother had died. So due to her spying, she realized that Gravik was making a machine to make Skrull stronger, and we saw that she seized her opportunity to jump in the machine herself and become a super Skrull. And Gravik, as we saw in this episode and as we knew from before, is also a super Skrull now as well. Now in the comics, there was one super Skrull. He was a specific character, and he was created as a Fantastic Four villain. He was literally created in the comic universe to take on the Fantastic Four, and he was given the powers of each of the members of the Fantastic Four, only stronger. He could stretch further than Mr. Fantastic. He could turn invisible and create stronger force fields than the Invisible Woman. He could burn hotter than the Human Torch, and he was stronger than the Thing. Now, obviously, this is not the case in the MCU, as we have seen that they have taken samples from DNA of creatures that we have seen in the MCU before to make a super Skrull. The specimens that we know about so far are Groot, the Extremis, Obsidian Cole, and a Frost Beast. Now, when Gaia is turning into a super Skrull, it shows us the screen of the supposed powers that she is going to get. However, we are not actually sure if she has all of the powers. The Extremis is the one that is highlighted. We can see it on the left, and we can see the name Extremis on the right side as well. And below that, we can see that it says healing abilities 100%, heat strength 100%. So they made it very clear that the Extremis is how they can heal, and this is also kind of a play off of the Human Torch. Instead of the Super Skrull getting the powers of the Human Torch, they get the powers of the Extremis. They get the heat, and they can also heal from this. Now we can see on the left side of the screen behind the sample that is ready, it says Frost Beast and Cole Obsidian. Notice we don't see Groot here. Of course, it is possible that she got all of these, but perhaps some are missing. Perhaps Groot is missing for Gaia. We do know, however, that Gravik has the abilities of Groot because we see that at the end of this episode. And that's kind of a play on Mr. Fantastic's ability to stretch. They simply used Groot and his ability to extend his limbs, or branches. So Gaia survives, and it makes us wonder, what exactly does it take to kill a super Skrull? She was shot right in the chest, right where her heart is. There was a big hole there, but she healed. So she got shot in the heart and was able to heal. Gravik also gets shot in the face. A huge chunk of his face gets taken off, and it stuns Nick Fury to see. So it does make you wonder, what exactly does it take to kill a super Skrull? I'm sure we're gonna find out at the end. Now, of course, one of the biggest things about this show is that it is about Nick Fury. And yes, of course, it's also about Gaia and Talos and Gravik, but at its core, this is a Nick Fury story. A story of him and his history and current position with the Skrull. So the scenes that we get with his wife, who is a Skrull, are quite intense. We start off with a flashback to 2012 in Paris, and this is right after the events of the first Avengers film, in which, of course, Nick Fury brought the Avengers team together. And there's something very interesting in what Priscilla says here. She suspected that Nick Fury was the one that brought them together. Of course, she is right, and he pretty much tells her that. But when he asks why she isn't surprised that he is the one that brought them together, She goes on about how he has a good sense of righteousness and how he protects the weak. And of course, as she's telling us this, it tells us a lot about Nick Fury's character, of course, but also she is speaking of her people, the Skrull, how he basically was helping them when they were weak. But the interesting part is we think back to the events of the first Avengers film. Now that we know that Nick Fury has known about the Skrull for a very long time at that point, it gives us a little bit more knowledge about a very particular scene in the first Avengers film, where Captain America, Bruce Banner, and Iron Man are kind of snooping around the ship that they're on and basically find out that S.H.I.E.L.D. is making extremely powerful weapons, and Nick Fury says it's because of him, and he points to Thor. And Thor says, "My people mean you no harm," but Nick Fury says, "But your people aren't the only people out there." Now, obviously, now we know that Nick Fury knows about the Skrull, and he also knows about the Kree. So this gives us a little bit more context. He wasn't exactly making these weapons to defend against Asgardians specifically, but actually to defend against evil Skrull or to defend against the Kree, which he already knew about. But obviously at that time, nobody knew about the Skrull, so he couldn't exactly mention them. Now, Priscilla reads a poem to Nick Fury called Late Fragment. Actually, she reads part of it while Fury reads the other part. And this is pretty much a big setup for the scene that takes place at their dinner table. We learned that Priscilla, or the Skrull Vara, has been working for Gravik and the Skrull rebels. And she, of course, has known that Rhodey was indeed a Skrull the entire time. In fact, she has been reporting to him. So much that if he calls her, she goes to him. But she is still kept a little bit in the dark, because when she goes to tell Rhodey, or the Skrull Rava, who is disguised as him, whose name is listed in the credits, that Fury was fired, she didn't know that Rhodey was actually the person, or Rava was actually the person that fired him. Now, the Skrull didn't exactly plan on Fury being on Earth, so Rhodey, or Rava, tells Vara that she either has to kill him or he's gonna kill her. This is what he meant when he said, "One of the two occupants of that lovely country manor of yours is catching a bullet today. You can flip a coin for all I care," showing how ruthless this Skrull actually is. Now, of course, Nick Fury, being the ultimate spy that he is listening in on this whole entire conversation. So he is waiting for Vara when she comes home. Now, he did not put his wedding ring back on, and she notices this, and of course he plays coy, but the real reason he doesn't put it on is because his wife is planning on killing him. But before Vara and Rava depart, Vara does try to get Nick Fury's life to be spared. She says that this is not the old Nick Fury that we know, this is a new Nick Fury, and he's not even close to the same man that the old Nick Fury was. He is much less. And of course, Fury is listening, and you can tell that he takes this rather personally. A lot of people have been saying this, and he knows it himself. He is not the same old Nick Fury. He's not on top of his game. But it does show us that Vara really does actually care for Fury, because she's trying to get his life spared. And Fury actually really cares for her as well. Their marriage was real. And he even says, "By far, you are the worst mistake that I have ever made. But now that I know everything, I don't think I would go back and do anything different." He would do the same thing again because he was in love with her. And apparently they had a pretty good marriage, which seems pretty apparent since they both clearly love each other, because when faced with the decision to kill the other person, both of them chose to not. They both would end up missing on purpose. But Vara tells us the story of how she got the identity of the human form that she takes. She took the identity and actual life of a Dr. Priscilla Davis, who was dying. And this part is pretty ambiguous. It's hard to tell if Nick Fury actually knew Dr. Priscilla Davis. We did hear a rumor about Vara/Priscilla not too long ago that stated that Nick Fury was in love with somebody before she died, and then Vara took the place of her to fill a void for Fury. However, that doesn't seemingly line up too much. Perhaps that was just a guess, because the way this conversation goes down, it doesn't really seem like Nick Fury knew Priscilla before, although it is certainly possible. However, since Nick Fury is asking about the story of how she chose the form that she is in, it makes us believe that he didn't actually know the former Priscilla. He had simply never asked her the story of why she chose to look the way she does, why she chose the certain human to mimic. And we find out that she pretty much did it to infiltrate Nick Fury. Because here's something important to remember. Vara is the one who brought Gravik to Nick Fury. So Vara and Gravik were probably very close. Gravik was probably like a son to Vara. So when he decided to rebel and form a resistance, she probably was pretty frustrated with Talos and Nick Fury as well. and decided to join him. And it actually sounds like this was the plan for a very long time, because we know that her and Fury have been married for a decent amount of time, and she was trying to infiltrate him before they even met. But what ended up happening is that she fell in love with him. This comes back to the poem that she read him in 2012. Fury recites the poem, which is really him literally asking her, did she get what she wanted out of this life? Because he knows what the answer is, what she was seeking, and that is for her to feel beloved. And she confirms, yes, she did feel beloved, which means she did feel that Nick Fury loved her. So she clearly loved him back. And this is why she misses him, and this is why he misses her. They love each other. And she's willing to accept the consequences. The consequences being Gravik and this other Skrull, Rava, are probably going to come for her at some point in time to kill her. Meanwhile, we have Talos meeting with his daughter Gaia. And this scene shows us that she is still kind of torn between what is right and wrong for her people. She says that she returned to her father because she feels like that's where she belongs, but she also states that Gravik has implemented a plan and it works. So, Dad, what is your plan? How are you going to find our people a home? And Talos doesn't exactly have the best plan. He basically states that he's going to prevent World War III from happening, go to the president, tell them about the Skrull, tell them about how they prevented the human population from basically being extinct, and demand a piece of land on Earth that would fit the millions of Skrull who need a home. However, Gaia isn't okay with this, and she leaves. And if Talos really is dead, this is unfortunately the last conversation she would have had with her father. So then Fury goes to Rhodey, or who we now know to be Rava, because they finally reveal this to us as she's taken a shower. She steps out and turns into Rhodey. And at this point, Nick Fury knows that as well, because he was spying on his wife and discovered that Rhodey was a Skrull. So Fury helps himself into Rava's hotel room, where he really only has one plan: get Rava to drink the liquor that he brought, because it is going to put a liquid tracking device inside of her. That way he can track Rhodey to get to Gravik. And Fury basically says, hey, I know you're a Skrull. I know Gravik is leading the rebellion. But Rava plays it cool and basically says, look, this is the footage that we have right here. It's of you in Russia. It's of you killing Maria Hill. I'll use this against you, and there's no way you can say that aliens took your identity and disguised themselves as you to kill Maria Hill and to plan a Russian attack. They had to hit us in the fields again with Maria Hill. But the plan works. Rava drinks the liquor and gets the tracking device put inside of her. And this leads us to the big battle at the end, where there are some major things that we have to talk about that take place here. The president arrives in England, where he is greeted by Rhodey, or at least that's who he thinks it is, of course. We of course know it's Rava, and once Rava gets inside of her own car, she phones Gravik and says, hey, the president is in position 4, basically confirming where the president is located, which car. Then Gravik comes in with other Skrull disguised as Russians. And this is part of Gravik's master plan. The president of the United States was there in England to meet with Russia. They are there to talk about the attacks that took place in Russia that the Skrull did, but were disguised as Americans. And now the Skrull are disguised as the Russians attacking the United States president. Because remember, Gravik's master plan is to essentially start World War III. He wants the humans taken out, and he's already stated in previous episodes that they will kill each other. So Gravik wants to start World War III so the humans start killing each other, and then the Skrull will come in and clean up the remaining humans, and then they will claim Earth for themselves. And since now the world is going to believe that the Russians attacked the US president, that is essentially a guaranteed war between Russia and the United States, and all of their allies going at war with each other as well. So that's a really big part of this scene right here. Gravik succeeded in his plan. Another part of his plan was to intentionally kill Talos in front of Nick Fury. Gravik has already said he could kill Nick Fury if he wanted to. But to truly torture Nick Fury, you do that by taking out everybody that he loves, everybody around him. That's 1, his wife, although that plan didn't really go according to Gravik's plan. 2, his best friend, Maria Hill, and then his other best friend, Talos. And he made it a point to do it in front of Nick Fury. In front of Nick Fury, where Nick Fury could not do anything to save Talos. Because in that moment, Gravik could have easily have killed Nick Fury there as well, but he just wanted him to suffer even more, so he didn't, and he killed Talos in front of him instead. Now, is Talos really dead? We're not exactly sure yet. However, in some trailers, we have seen a scene where Gaia is crying on top of a body. This, of course, is going to be her father, Talos. However, what she could do to possibly bring Talos back is to take him and go put him in the Super Skrull machine. Perhaps then he could get the extremis and that could heal him. Perhaps it might not be too late for that. However, they would have to fly into Russia, which would be pretty hard, especially after the Russians just attacked the United States in the public's eyes. Perhaps somehow Gaia can use the extremis that she has to heal him, but for now, I am going to say that he's probably dead. They killed off Maria Hill, and it looks like the stakes are just as high here, killing off Talos. However, it wasn't in vain, because two other really important things happened here. One is that when the backup came for the United States, they recognized Nick Fury. They recognized that Fury was trying to protect and extract the president, and they fought with him. So clearly, he is not a huge enemy to the US at this point in time, perhaps later, but not now. So that's a really important part, but another one is that the soldiers actually saw Talos in his Skrull form, in his alien form. One of the soldiers saw him and tries to turn on him, thinking that he's trying to attack the president, but Fury says, "No, he's with me." The soldiers realize that the alien is trying to help protect the president, and if you notice at this point in time, Gravik has not yet turned into this soldier, so it is indeed that actual soldier that saw him and other soldiers around as well. It's not until after that Gravik turns into that soldier who saw him and then kills Talos. And this is really important because this is one step towards the humans being able to coexist with the Skrull, the good Skrull at least. This is setting up a future in which humans and Skrull can exist together, realizing that Skrull can actually help the human race, which is why I say Talos' death wasn't in vain. He died trying to save the president of the United States, and United States soldiers saw that and will be able to attest that Skrull, some of them at least, and hopefully the majority of them, are good. So hopefully this makes a difference and Talos did not die in vain. Also, another thing that Gravik made Fury do is choose between the president or Talos, which one to save. Another part of Gravik's torture for Nick Fury. And so far, Gravik has proven to be a great villain in the MCU because he truly is savage and he is ruthless and he is doing an amazing job at torturing Nick Fury and making him suffer. But that is episode 4 of Secret Invasion. Please let us know what you're thinking about the show so far. Do you like it? Do you not like it? And why? Either way, let us know why. And drop any and all predictions you have for episode 5 and 6 in the comments down below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the videos. If you want to further support the channel, you can check us out on Patreon. You can check out our website and our Discord server as well. And of course, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.